The right to swing your fist ends where my nose begins. I should have the full right to the enjoyable, peaceful use of my property.
A controversial proposal up for debate tonight in rural Montcalm County. An energy company is looking to install 75 wind turbines on open farmland there.
Apex Energy says the energy produced will be enough to power up to 90,000 homes each year. But not everyone is on board. Our Angeline McCall was at tonight's open house. She'll share what both sides had to say in just a few minutes.
But first, we're diving deeper into how wind turbines work, where they're found in Michigan, and why so many people are hesitant about these types of projects. Think about a wind turbine like a fan, but in reverse. Instead of using electricity to make wind, turbines use wind to make electricity. And this kind of renewable energy is growing in popularity. Right now, there are utility-scale wind farms in 41 U.S. states, including Michigan. Take a look at this map. The colored dots show where wind turbines are already located. As you can see, there's a big concentration in mid-Michigan and the Thumb region. Right now, wind energy generates about 6.5% of Michigan's electricity, behind natural gas, nuclear, and coal. Our state's two largest electric companies, DTE Energy and Consumers Energy, own and operate more than 20 different wind farms. These projects are typically built in windy areas with a lot of open land. And turbines look so big because they are. Blades average over 190 feet long, and towers average 295 feet tall, about the height of the Statue of Liberty. Their size is one of several reasons that wind projects get pushed back. Many say they're worried about safety. According to the Office of Energy Efficiency and Renewable Energy, wind turbines have an excellent safety record. But as with any type of machinery, turbines may fail. That's why developers keep ice shedding and blade throws top of mind when building. Most turbines are actually positioned away from buildings to minimize any potential damage. There's also the issue of sound. Turbines can create two distinct tones, a mechanical hum produced by the generator and a whooshing sound created by the blades moving through the air. Research is underway to find techniques to mitigate these sounds, but 2013 research concluded that wind farm sound has no direct impact on human health. And what about property values? Some homeowners worry a potential wind farm down the road will send their home prices plummeting. A 2009 analysis looked into that exact issue. Researchers studied 7,500 homes in 9 states located within 10 miles of a wind farm. Data did not find any widespread statistically observable impact, but researchers did note there is the possibility that individual homeowners could be negatively impacted.
Some of those concerns were echoed by property owners in Montcalm County, where one company wants to put a wind farm.
Angeline McCall spoke with those in support and against that project.
It was a busy night with big crowds on both sides of those in support as well as opposition of this project to put wind turbines into Douglas and Belvedere townships. And you can see the group behind me in opposition, and they wanted to come here and express their stance on why they're against it.
A passionate crowd here to protect their property.
They're going to say that these leaseholders have property rights. Well, the right to swing your fist ends where my nose begins. I should have the full right to the enjoyable, peaceful use of my property.
Eric Benko learned about the project last fall when he formed the group Montcalm County Citizens United in opposition of the plan as it stands.
We're not against green energy, clean energy, any of that at all. We support that. We love the environment. What we are concerned about is that this company wants to build 670-foot industrial turbines 1,200 feet from our homes. You know, I mean, there's a place for everything. There's a place for this, and it's out away from people.
Eric and others concerned the company developing the wind farm called Apex Clean Energy had already signed leases with property owners, including some elected officials.
They're taking away my property rights. We just want everybody to stop at their own property.
The group cites noise, wildlife disruption, and unsafe distances from homes as major concerns over the project, with the company saying during their open house Monday they set their turbines as far as 1.5 times the length of the turbine from property lines and twice as much from homes.
We know what responsibility means, and we take that to heart, so safety is obviously a concern. Health, quality of life, obviously concerns of ours.
Albert Young Award with Apex, saying it would benefit the community with an additional source of passive income as Michigan looks to close coal and nuclear plants.
So there's kind of a revolution in how we produce and consume electricity. So as we shut those things down, what are we going to do, Michigan? How are we going to replace that lost power?
For as many vocal opposers, there are also property owners who support the project.
We think that it will enable, well, perhaps some of our younger relatives not to have to sit in the cold in the wintertime or swelter in the summer because they don't have enough electricity.
Those in opposition hope the company will reconsider the distance between turbines and homes as some continue to fear for safety.
These people are completely in the right by thinking that the problems of these things being too close are real. You're playing Russian roulette with a wind turbine. I mean, straight up, and nobody wants to do that.
Meanwhile, the company reiterates that they have their own safety standards and plan to continue moving forward with the project.
Apex says that if they are successful with their current plan, that they would estimate that these turbines go into place in 2024 or roughly in that time frame. Reporting in Douglas Township, ANGELINE MCCALL, Fox 17 News.